Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth, also known as the Continuum Chronicles. As always, I'm your host, Chris Kent, the Game Master, or GM for short. And this is the second adventure inspired by the X-Men six-player arcade game made by Konami in 1992. I'll put a link down below to the first adventure in this series. If you haven't checked that out, watch that one first. Otherwise, this one might not make a lot of sense. So, all that said, let's dive into today's adventure. Previously, on X-Men, the heroes found out there's a new Magneto in town. He went to a Sentinel Factory in New York where he reprogrammed a bunch of Terminator-sized Sentinels to spread out and destroy everything in their path. Professor Xavier learned of this and sent Colossus, Cyclops, Dazzler, Nightcrawler, Storm, and Wolverine to deal with the situation. They battled their way through hordes of Sentinels until they reached the Sentinel Factory, where they fought Pyro and won. Pyro was merely a distraction, and Magneto got away. So that brings us to the main plot of today's adventure. As soon as the X-Men enter the Sentinel Factory, a metal door hisses open and three Sentinels walk out. These Sentinels are reminiscent of the Iron Patriot armor design in that they are red and blue rather than the normal two-tone purple that most Sentinels are. As was the case in the last adventure, the X-Men don't hesitate. Instead, they destroy the Sentinels immediately. More doors open up, and more of these red and blue Sentinels pour out. As the heroes are fighting them, a couple more Hulkbuster Sentinels show up, carrying more of those tank turret-sized guns. Colossus leaps over, and the Hulkbuster Sentinel shoots Colossus in the chest with exploding tank rounds. The top portion of Colossus's costume is burned off, but his chrome flesh seems to be mostly fine. Colossus rips off the chest plate of the power armor that one is wearing, and then punches the inner robot in its chest with his other hand. The second Hulkbuster Sentinel reloads, giving Colossus the time he needs to tear him apart too. The X-Men walk past a glass wall. On the other side are newly manufactured Silver Sentinels. This is a paint room, and the robots here are going through a process similar to what happens in an automotive plant, where new cars are painted and then baked to dry the paint. It would seem that Magneto had some ideas for Sentinels that aren't exactly what you might call factory standard. Some of the custom Sentinels shoot things like fire or ice, that sort of thing. But the X-Men don't have time for sightseeing. More red and blue Sentinels show up, attacking the heroic mutants. The X-Men fight back, smashing every robot here. During this fight, we see the red and blue Sentinels have the ability to shoot the red metal glove portion of their anatomy like a missile. This ranged punch seems like something Voltron might do. Dazzler gets punched and is knocked out. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, several yellow, non-humanoid factory robots designed for laser cutting metal redirect themselves and fire deadly laser beams at the heroes. Nightcrawler jokes that this reminds him of a dungeon in one of the RPGs he plays, and they sure could use a healing potion right about now. Wolverine says, "This ain't no game, Kurt." Then he runs at the factory robots, slicing them up, disabling their ability to attack. Wolverine says, "If you ladies want to take a powder, that's fine by me." Storm says she finds it disturbing that Wolverine thinks of the term ladies as an insult. Then Storm nukes a wave of red and blue Sentinels with a massive lightning bolt that she rolls a critical success on. Colossus looks over at Cyclops and says, "Remind me not to make her mad." Wolverine takes out a bunch of red and blue Sentinels that use their rocket punches on him. It rings his bell, but he keeps going. and any damage done to him, he's able to heal in short order. Two more Hulkbuster Sentinels arrive, and one shoots a rocket at the party. So Nightcrawler teleports to one of them and then teleports him into the rocket's path. The rocket hits that Sentinel in the chest, and they're both knocked back, with Kurt clinging to the robot's back. The X-Men dogpile these guys, destroying them all. And interestingly enough, Storm notices a MRD med kit on the factory wall. MRD stands for the Mutant Response Division. They anticipated that mutants may one day infiltrate this facility with the intentions of trying to sabotage the Sentinel program. As such, these medkits were designed to try to get human soldiers on their feet again. It is ironic that it is now the MRD's sworn enemies who have the medkit in their hands. Nightcrawler swallows a yellow capsule with a blue stripe in the middle, and he gets to feeling better. However, the swashbuckler, Nightcrawler speaks in Renaissance festival style, inviting his compatriots to partake of what he calls healing potions. Cyclops gently places one in Dazzler's mouth and then sort of massages her throat in such a way that the pill goes down even though she's knocked out. After a few moments, she wakes up, and once she's up and going again, then Cyclops takes a pill himself. Wolverine says he's not taking any, partially because he heals on his own, and partially because he'd rather die than trust the MRD. Wolverine adds that for all they know, the pills could be poisonous to mutants. After Wolverine walks off, Nightcrawler quips that he could have warned them about that poison thing before they took the pills. Cyclops says, too late to worry about that now. We need to keep going. So the X-Men continue on, and some sort of defense system is triggered. A short, thick metal wall pops up out of the factory floor, and doors open, revealing a bank of missiles. Storm shoots the entire thing with lightning, igniting all of the missiles while they are still in their launchers. The entire wall explodes, spraying the area with shrapnel. A few heroes take some shrapnel damage, and Storm apologizes if her actions caused them harm. Dazzler says she thinks the missiles would have probably done more harm, and the heroes continue on. They fight more red and blue Sentinels, as well as more magenta and silver Sentinels, and after destroying the last of the cannon fodder, they enter the main control room of the factory. It is lined with computer banks showing maps of various continents, as well as a map of Island M. In the control room, they encounter the new version of the Blob. Wolverine charges him, saying he's going to cut some calories. Blob yells something along the lines of, "Nobody can beat the Blob," then hits Wolverine with a Morning Star. Colossus punches the Blob, getting him into the corner. Dazzler and Cyclops move to either side, and both of them hit the Blob with their respective ranged attacks. Storm uses air control, creating a little tornado that sucks all of the air out of Blob's lungs. So what would have been a much longer fight is over faster than I anticipated. The Blob is knocked out. Cyclops finds some MRD handcuffs with the neutralize power. Once Blob's powers are turned off, they throw him in a holding cell in the security office. Then we get into the epilogue. Professor Xavier contacts the X-Men. While Blob and Pyro were distracting the heroes, Magneto kidnapped Xavier and Kitty and took them to Island M. Using the computer equipment here in the factory, the X-Men consult the map of Island M and head out. And that was it for that game session. As before, it doesn't take long to describe with words, but it took hours to fight all of those Sentinels. I was hoping the Blob fight would have lasted longer than that, but my players were tired of fighting at that point, and they were ready for it to be over. Everyone was low on hit points, so in-game, the characters were ready to rest too. That said, I loved Storm's solution to the problem. I thought it was very creative, and I do like to reward my players for creativity. So I had fun running this one. I hope you guys had fun listening to it. If so, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell, leave a comment, all that jazz. And we will see you in the next adventure.